a Chinese firm has set up a $45 million plastic waste recycling company in Kenya that will collect and recycle about 2,000 tons of PET bottles every month. Now, Weeco Recycling Company has set up operations in Athi River and Mombasa, and it targets to collect and recycle plastic bottles into pellets, which of course are later converted into fibre and garments. The firm has signed a partnership contract with the Kenya PET Recycling Company, which is an industry body mandated with the responsibility of regulating the management of post-consumer PET packaging in the country. The partnership is in line with Kenya's Vision 2030 objective by ridding the country of plastic waste and manufactured pollutants by 2020. Well, let's discuss the country's progress in the management of plastic pollution. We're joined by Joyce Gachugi. She's the country manager of the Kenya PET Recycling Company. Very welcome to the show, Joyce.
Thank you, Uche.
Well, we do know that Kenya is one of the few African countries that's actually actively managing plastic pollution. We had a plastic ban in 2017. Now, despite these numbers, 2018 numbers show that 5% or just 5% of the 20,000 tons of plastic waste generated in the country is collected and recycled. So what's your take on the progress so far? Is there significant improvement in plastic waste collection?
Okay. Thank you, Uche. Yes, there is a lot of progress. I think since our inception as PETCO, Kenya PET Recycling Company, we are trading as PETCO in Kenya, in South Africa. We have seen a marked improvement. I think prior to us coming into market, we were recycling, as you said, 5%, about 850 tons a year. Today, we are able to recycle close to 2,000, and in this financial year, we're looking at recycling 6,000 tons. If you look at the partnerships we've already engaged in with Weeco and with others, we are confident that we will be able to attain our target. Right. So there is a lot of progress. Yes.
Well, let's talk about how, because you do say that your targets are recycling 70% of the plastic waste generated by 2030. How do you plan to do this?
I know, I mean, everybody's asking the same question. I'm asking the same question. I would say that collective action and getting the job done. So how do we intend to get the job done is to engage stakeholders across the board. If you look at the entire PET value chain, from the collectors, the waste pickers at the dump sites, to those who are actually collecting bottles on the streets, right to the recyclers who we are signing contracts with, we are looking to engage at all levels, create consumer awareness, promote segregation at source, so that then we have more volumes of bottles getting to our recyclers, and to raise the level of consciousness among consumers to be able to not dispose their bottle as they are currently. Yes.
I said one of your key objectives is engaging stakeholders, and I'd like to know what that has been like for you. For example, we know there's been some opposition. The Kenya Association of Manufacturers, it opposed that ban in court. Of course, that wasn't successful. It also said as many as 100,000 jobs have been lost in the plastics industry. Also, we've seen the plastic industry in Kenya does import about 20,000 tons of PET products annually. It's projected to grow by 10% per year. So in the face of all of this, how are you planning to manage that challenge?
Well, I think, Uche, if we are honest and we look at where our government is actually taxing industry, you'll find it's in the food and beverage sector, which means this is a critical component to the economy. And so the question is, there's value in this sector for the government. And more importantly, if you look at the Big Four agenda that the government currently is trying to push and adopt, you find that recycling is actually one of the things that can actually grow the manufacturing sector. Globally, this is an industry that is able to employ over 100,000 plus people, create jobs in the informal sector, and create a decent work environment for people. So for us, we feel that, yes, Kenya Association of Manufacturers, ourselves, we face some opposition, but we feel that government has given us a space to be able to demonstrate what this model of collection and recycling can actually do for the economy.
Yes. And you're actually cooperating with them now.
Yes, we are.
Aren't you? How are you?
So we actually, last year, actually more or less in November 2018, we signed a framework of cooperation with the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, and our regulator, the National Environment Management Authority, was actually present, as well as the Ministry of Environment and Forestry. And I think what that says is that all manufacturers are committed to seeing this model work. The reason being that I think more companies are beginning to understand that consumers are looking for sustainable brands. They want to be associated with sustainable brands, and they don't want to be and buying products from companies that are not participating in regimes such as this. Yes.
Now, of course, recycling does cost money. So
does.
I'd like to know, how are you, or are you able to access the adequate funding to carry this on? And are you working together? Are you seeing corporates joining that cause?
Well, I would say yes, and I think one of the things that makes Kenya really a remarkable country, as you began by saying, there's a lot of action in the plastic space. One of the things we've been able to identify here is that corporates are coming. So we actually call them the coalition of the willing, because it's voluntary. It's not mandatory for you to be part of an extended producer responsibility such as ours. To date, we have about 16 members who control about 60% of the PET bottling sector. And so we are confident we can mobilize resources.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for joining us in the studio, Joyce. Unfortunately, we have to leave it there.
No problem.
But of course, that was Joyce Gachugi. She's a country manager at the Kenya PET Recycling Company.